back to the Real Talk, The Road to Tomorrow. I'm Ruthvika.
And I'm Tamoghna, and today we're joined with someone who's combining storytelling and stage design in really creative ways.
Sarah P. is a student at Susquehanna University, double majoring in publishing and editing and theater production design. She's passionate about storytelling, both on the page and behind the scenes, and she's even exploring interests like lighting design along the way.
Sarah, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Let's start with high school. What were you involved back then? Like, were you already doing theater, writing, or had any leadership roles?
Yeah, so I was in a couple of clubs in high school. I was involved in the theater, of course. I did the lighting for all of the shows, all 4 years. And I was in orchestra. So I did that. I did some extracurricular orchestra activities. And I was a member of Ramoir's literary magazine. And I was president of that my senior year.
That's really cool.
When did you first realize you might want to pursue something creative in college? Was there a specific experience in high school?
I kind of always was just interested in creative. Like, I've been writing since first grade. We had an assignment one day to do a research project about animals, and I've been writing ever since. So I've always been kind of a creative person. And then of course I got involved in the theater, and that was also my calling. So it's kind of always just been there. I was never really interested. I was good at more academic classes. I've been in advanced math since 7th grade, but it was never something I wanted to pursue.
Yeah, and we also heard that you were interested in lighting design at one point. So what drew you to that, and how does that interest still show up in your work today?
So actually, I knew that I wanted to do theater because my sister was an actress. So she was involved in the theater at school, and I wanted to get involved, but I wasn't an actor. So I decided I wanted to be in the crew. And she told me one year, oh, they need more people up in the booth. And I said, sure, I'll do that. And I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I just really latched on to that. So I don't know, that's just how I got involved there. And second half was how am I still involved in lighting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm involved in the theater here at Susquehanna, obviously. It's one of my majors. I'm taking a lighting class right this semester. So that's lighting production and technology, I think is the official title of it. So I'm learning a lot more than just the design aspect that I did in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember last year you were telling me that you were thinking of applying for lighting design.
Yeah. Funny how I didn't actually end up going into that, and then I did it anyway after my first semester. It all comes back in the end.
How did you decide on Susquehanna? What stood out about it? The campus, the size, or anything about it?
Yeah, I'd say size was definitely one of the things I was looking for in a college. I didn't want to go to a big school because I know that I personally have a very quiet presence about me. So I was if I go to a school and I'm in all of my classes have 400 people in it, nobody's going to remember me. I'm not going to stand out. I'm not going to get the support from the professors that I wanted. So almost every school I applied to was around 2,000 to 5,000 undergrads. So that was a big part of it. Susquehanna specifically, I chose over my second choice school was Shenandoah, which was I would have gone for lighting design. So, but I originally applied to Susquehanna for publishing and editing. So it came down to really which major I really wanted to pursue in the end. But after a lot of thinking, I was here's the thing, I could always be involved in theater at Susquehanna, even if it's not my major. So it came down to, I felt like I would get a more well-rounded education at Susquehanna because of the central curriculum and because my major wouldn't have been so hyper specific, because at Shenandoah I would have been in the conservatory, so I would have been very theater specific classes all the time, like apart from the rest of the school. So I like that at Susquehanna I could have been like interacting with people from all different majors. And like I took a philosophy class last semester, I'm taking a psych class this semester, and none of that has anything to do with either of my majors, but it was nice to like these are cool things just to learn. So that's what I liked about Susquehanna specifically.
How many people are in your class on average?
I think it's 2,200 last I checked. Oh, in the fall.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, so my like gen ed classes are around 30 people, which is kind of like what it was in high school. But there's a huge range because I'm taking 4 classes this semester. 3 of them, there are about 30 people in every class. One of them, I'm the only student in that class. So it's a wide range.
And also you mentioned double measuring, right? That sounds really intense. Like, how do you balance like publishing and editing with theater production and design?
Yeah, so specifically at Susquehanna, at least, it's not as complicated as it sounds. I'm not taking, as far as I know, I'm not taking more classes. It's just the gen eds that I would have taken with one major are now specific towards my other major. So like I'm a theater major. So like I could have my history credit that I need, I could have taken, like my roommate took traditional East Asian history. Like I could have taken that, but now that I'm a theater major as well, it can be like, I don't know what it's specifically called, but like history of American theater or whatever. So it's not as bad as it sounds. And last semester I felt like I didn't have enough to do, so that's honestly why I added the other major. But it doesn't feel like I have significantly more work being a double major.
Okay.
Do you think like these 2 majors connect for you in any way?
Not intentionally. It wasn't a conscious decision. Like a lot of people say, like, oh, you do publishing and editing and theater, you must want to like write plays. And I'm like, well, like maybe, but that wasn't like my goal. It was just 2 separate interests I had that I didn't know which one I liked more than the other, so I just decided to go for both. But I guess they do have a sort of connection through storytelling, like publishing and editing I went into because I like writing, so that's obviously, I do creative writing, so that's more of like a storytelling perspective. And lighting design and theater is, it tells a story through colors and focuses your eye on where to look and things like that. So I guess it does have that storytelling aspect to it, which goes along with me saying that I've always been a creative person. So that's how they connect, I guess.
And what does a typical week or day look like for you?
So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I have the same 3 classes. I have an Adobe class for my publishing major, which teaches you about like design on like Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign. So that's a cool class. It's only for half the semester. So next month I won't have that class anymore. But then after that I have my marketing, which is also for my publishing and editing major, and then psychology, which is one of my gen eds. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have my lighting class, which takes the same amount of time that all of my other classes do combined, but I love it, so it's fine. And occasionally we'll have like shows. So occasionally it's Tech Week. It was Tech Week 3 weeks ago. We just did a play. And I was the light board operator, so I had to be there like the week before. But Tech Week starts at 6 p.m. So it's like I could probably get my homework done between my last class at 1:30 and 6 p.m. So it's not too bad.
Do you have? Sorry.
Go on.
Do you have a lot of homework, like compared to high school?
I mean, it depends on what classes you're taking. Like I said, last semester I had a
Mhm.
ton of time, so I added the extra major.
Mhm.
But this semester I have one class that has a ton of reading that comes with reading quizzes and everything else. So that feels like that takes up a bunch of time. My lighting class doesn't have any homework because it's just like a lab type class.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it depends on which classes you're taking. Like all my theater classes I've taken so far have been lab classes, so they don't have any homework, but then other classes are completely reading based, so you got to do all the reading for that class. So it depends on what you're taking.
Yeah.
Mhm. For the listeners who may not know much about theater production, what do you do like behind the scenes?
Oh boy. What what doesn't get done behind the scenes? I've learned so much since just being in high school theater, coming to college theater. Now, like just on the lighting perspective itself, like at high school all I did was all the lights were already there now, and all I had to do was decide what lights turn on when and what colors it'll be during what scenes. But now I'm learning all about, oh, this is, we decide what lights go where on the bars up in the catwalks, and you got to hang those and then focus those to make sure they're pointing at the right places in the stage. And then you got to plug it in everywhere, and then you got to attach that to the, it's so complicated. And there's people doing like designing the sets and building the sets and painting the sets. For the first show I did here, I wasn't even on lights. I operated the flies. So we had a mirror that dropped in from the ceiling during one of the scenes. So you gotta hook that up and put the weights on it so that it like doesn't, you know, drop without like too much control. There's so much going on behind the scenes that just nobody sees. It's crazy.
That sounds really interesting. And what has been your favorite production so far?
Out of all of my productions I've ever done, including high school, my personal favorite out of all the productions was Big Fish, which was my junior year. Was that your first show, Tamoghna?
That was my freshman year show.
Yeah, that one's still my favorite. I just love the storyline. I love the soundtrack. It was my favorite show to light because there were so many fun colors, and I got to like work with the idea of half of the story happened in like a dream world, so that was all bright and colorful, and half of it took place like in the real world, so that was like really bright. It was just like black and white, stark. So that was fun from a lighting perspective. At Susquehanna, I've only done 2 shows, but I, even though I'm a lighting person, I want to say out of those 2 shows, my favorite was my first show, Spring Awakening, which, because it was a musical, I love musicals. The other one was a play, so it doesn't hold the same space. But for that show, for Spring Awakening, I was the fly operator. So it was just a different experience from everything else I'd been doing previously, because I finally got to like be backstage during a show, which I've never done before. So like I got to see like all the actors switch from being goofy in the backstage to being really serious on stage, and it was just fun to get to interact with people that like I wouldn't have interacted with otherwise. So those are my favorites.
When you applied to Susquehanna, did you apply like directly into the majors? Like, how did you apply?
So I applied, like I said, I added the double major halfway through my first semester. So I applied for a publishing and editing major. Yeah. Was it, is there anything else you want me to elaborate on?
That's probably it.
Okay. And did you submit a portfolio, like your writing samples or any creative work you did?
So not for Susquehanna,
Mhm.
but for my other choice, Shenandoah. Sorry. I was sick last week. But for Shenandoah, I had to make a portfolio. I had to make an artistic resume, which was just like a list of all the shows I've done and what I did with them, anything else, like I had to list my music experience and any like art experience I had. And then I had to go in for an interview, but yeah, it depends on what program you're applying for. I think the creative writing majors here, you have to submit a writing portfolio, but for publishing and editing, take you, I guess.
What advice would you give like high school students who feel nervous about like applying to college or like submitting portfolios to these kind of schools?
I'd say just make sure that your passion shines through your work. Like specifically at when I went to my interview, they don't expect you to know everything or to be the best at what you're applying for. They just want, because you're going to learn how to do everything in college. They just want you to be excited about what you're applying for, which if you want it to be your major, you probably already have that passion. You just want it. My advice is just to make sure that that comes across through your work.
Yeah. And looking ahead, where do you see yourself after college and what excites you the most?
Oh boy. I'm hoping, since I'm still a first year, that I don't have to have a solid answer to that question for a couple of years. But I hope that I can continue doing lighting for theater because it's something that I truly enjoy. And I'm excited to, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm excited to see where life takes me.
So if you could tell your high school self, like when you were a freshman something, what would it be?
I would tell myself that I'm doing a great job because I was so stressed in high school, but I was a straight A student. So like I didn't need to be that stressed because I was doing fine. So, and I feel like a lot of high schoolers feel that way. So just like I knew that I was doing a great job, but it would have been nice to like hear it from my future self.
Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your journey and showing us how creative you can take in like many different forms.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I love what you guys are doing. I wish we had something like this when I was in high school.
Thank you for joining.